The Olympics are over, the Traitors is over, and Survivor 50 is just getting started. I'm Declan Zhang, and this is Gay Sports, a podcast and YouTube talk show for the athlete in us all. If you love competition, internet culture, and constant self improvement, then I want you on my team. Like a wise woman once said, let's ride. That's right. We have theme music now, courtesy of my very good friend Kyle Bren. Shout out to Kyle. You guys, the Olympics happened. They were so beautiful. And obviously, the top line is Miss Alyssa Liu, just absolutely dominating the narrative in the final stretch of the Winter Olympics this year. But we had so many other athletes to root for and wonderful moments. I think something for me, just to get right into it, because between the Olympics, the Traitors, and Survivor, we got a lot to talk about here. Um, it's really beautiful as a, you know, theater, filmmaker, writer, director, whatever type, to have developed this love of sports at first through like reality TV competitions, and now a love of sports themselves and competing in a more classical sense. It's been really beautiful to see that like sports have all their own narratives. Sports have their own protagonists and antagonists, but the stakes are real, realer than in any work of fiction. I mean, we have Alyssa Liu sort of like coming out of nowhere in this beautiful, fun-loving, earnest performance to capture the gold and the nation's and the world's hearts. And then we have, sort of the flip side, Ilya Malinin rise to fame in the weeks leading up to the games as the quad god and ultimately flop, because, the pressure is too great, or just because the reality of athletics is that anything can happen and you can do everything right and it's still not work out because it just wasn't meant to. It's beautiful. It's sad and beautiful. Thank God for Alyssa Liu. Thank God for Ilya Malinin and for every other athlete, American or not, who went out to Milan Cortina, um, and gave it their all and tried really hard. I think there's so much beauty in trying really hard to win something. I think that's something that I've really gained from becoming a more athletic person and becoming someone who is more concerned with competition, and really centers their life around competitions of various kinds. Um, and it's just very inspiring. And in some ways, I love the path that I took through life, and I was certainly meant to be a band kid and a theater kid, and I was a very competitive band kid. That's really the root of all of this and the root of the theme music you just heard. But of course, part of me is like, oh gosh, I wish I had been an athlete, which is literally insane if you had asked my teenage self that. If you told me, you know, 13 years ago that I would be getting on a podcast to talk about how I wish I had been a teenage athlete, I think I would have, I don't know. I mean, certainly laughed. I mean, I already wanted to kill myself, so that wouldn't have added anything. Anyway, enough about me at 15. Let's just another round of applause for that beautiful MacArthur Park performance by Alyssa Liu. I'm sure MacArthur Park streams are up. I have certainly been streaming it much more. And just that move where she first she slides, gets on one knee and like slides across the rink and like leans back, and it was so beautiful and cool. And then, which I'm sure skaters do that. I mean, that blew my mind as someone who's not really in that like tapped into the figure skating world. But then when she comes back the other way and she gets on both knees and spinning around like a ballerina but on her knees, I mean, I stand up and I clap. Every time the video comes across my timeline or my Twitter or whatever timeline, Facebook, I have to watch the whole thing because it's just that good. And I really want to highlight, I think there was an interview where Alyssa said, like, I love struggling. It makes me feel alive. Girl, same. it really that really captured something for me. And if you know me, you know that that would really speak to me. um yeah, I don't have much more to say about the Olympics. What a lovely time. I was so busy with the fashion week stuff that I really didn't get to watch live as often as much as I wanted, but I'm still got to be a part of beautiful moments like Alyssa Liu's gold medal performance. And I'm just so grateful to the world that we have the Olympics. I mean, that we have this thing that happens where we all want to watch and find out like who can throw a thing the furthest, who can run a distance the fastest, who can shoot a gun the most accuratest, and who can skate around the rink the prettiest. A rink the prettiest. Who can skate around a rink the prettiest. It's just beautiful. I love the Olympics. I can't wait for the next one in 2028. Woo, is that the LA one? I think it is. Oh boy. That's gonna be discourse. But I'm not here to talk about that. I am here to talk more a little bit about the Traitors, which ended just this evening. I am coming fresh off of watching the finale. It is the middle of the night here, and I just couldn't wait to get into this with and for you guys. As predicted, Rob Roush walked his way to the end of the game, bringing along Maura Higgins, who ultimately she really took this on the chin, and I was proud of her. But wow, was I really gagged for the way she was gagged. It was just perfect. I mean, when a trader is gonna have this kind of dominant win, then what's really the engine of the finale is wanting that beautiful moment at the end where the losing faithful finds out. And the way this poor girl, she does like a fake out. She goes, "I'm sorry." Just kidding, because she is so 100% confident that he is a faithful, and she's beaming. She's beaming. She's beaming. She's so happy, so certain that she's about to win with him. And the shot of her face crack, how she slowly, like barely even is like, no way he just said that. And her smile drops and her like eyes dart over to Alan really briefly. You can see where she's like, "I'm being punked, no way." And then she's finally like, "No, you're joking. You're joking. I'm fuming." She didn't say that. Um, she really did take it on the chin. I mean, she's obviously upset. I expected her to be angrier than she was. I wouldn't have minded or blamed her if she was angrier than she was. She ultimately is kind of like, well, if I was a traitor, I would have done the same thing, which is more sense than a lot of these other players have. I mean, I haven't watched the reunion yet, but just from the little clips that I have seen come out, it seems like a lot of the players are just like, well, Rob, you like, you really stabbed me in the back, or blah, 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 blah. It's like, yep, he was playing the traitors. You all signed up to play the traitors. I have no sympathy for Candace or any of them. I really, at Eric's exit confessional, I was like, really, girl? Like, when he's like, I just, I have my own, compass that I play this by, and I guess that's just how he does it. But I would never have done that. Really? You were about to do it to Mora. You were about to do the exact same thing to Mora. You were going to leave her hanging high and dry, and look at the look on her face when you and Rob were going to be the winning traders. So why do you feel like you can take some sort of moral high ground over Rob because just because he got you, because he positioned himself better in the end game than you and had two number ones to go to the finals with? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, Eric really lost any sort of like I was going into this finale ready to be like, okay, the like bumbling, lovable sweet boy who got recruited and might just stumble his way into a win here. You know what? Good for Eric. He didn't have to do any of the work, and he's going to reap all the benefits. But that's just how it goes sometimes. But you know what? He didn't, and I don't blame Rob a single second for taking the chance he had to keep all the money for himself. Like he said in his last confessional, would you share $200,000 with a guy you met 3 weeks ago? No, I don't think you would. I wouldn't. I don't think I would. I'm actually very emotional of a player. I mean, I've never been in a position in any kind of game where I had, 100 to $200,000 on the line. But I am a pretty emotional player, and I am pretty trusting if I actually really fuck with you. And there's a world in which if I was with the right person who I really loved, like in the most recent brief spoiler for Traders UK, like in the most recent Traders UK, it was so beautiful that we had. Again, I'm gonna spoil it. It's really, really amazing. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you want to go watch it, I really encourage you to. It's on Peacock, I think. No, maybe it is now. Whatever. Skip ahead a couple little bit if you don't want to hear the spoilers. It was so beautiful to see two traders who really deserved it protect each other in the end and win together. I mean, gosh, that can be so wonderful too. But I don't blame Rob for doing what he did. The Rob Roush really made a new fan in me over the course of this season. He is one of the best traders to ever do it. I hesitate to say that he's a better trader than Suri. I mean, Rob actually was in danger at times, and if you know Tara and Johnny had turned their brains on one episode sooner and really committed with Natalie, and then brought Mark on as a strong voting block to try and strong arm a tie at the final seven, and save Natalie and do Rob, then the whole game changes. And I think that as much as they really did, I think, consider it, they just were a little gun shy in there in that moment. And but I don't know why, because they had only banished three female traitors. So like, unless you think it's an all women turret, which I mean, that's not out of the question. If I was in their position, I'd be like, I mean, maybe Alan wanted to do all women in the turret. That sounds perfectly in the realm of possibility to me. But if they had started to have evidence against Rob, which they did at that point, it just was bizarre that they wouldn't take a shot at Rob first, especially if it's like if you're in a position where like that's the last banishment where you'll find out who it is. I feel like if you're suspicious of Natalie, you can still banish Natalie anyway if you have the numbers for it. Whereas I feel like it's more critical to banish Rob and be sure that you got if he was a traitor or not, because that would just explain a lot of other questions in the air. Anyway, that's the Traitors. Proud of Rob. Second best trader in Survivor, American Traders. I'm still going to put him number two to Suri, because Suri never once had her name written down, was never in trouble. And but Rob gets really, really extra points for coming in here, not as a gamer, not having done anything like this before, and just having excellent instincts all the way through. And if he had been against stronger players, maybe they would have gotten him, but he wasn't. He played the hand he was dealt. We salute you, Rob Roush. Thank you for your work. That was the Traitors, but not just 24 hours ago. I was in a packed bar in Williamsburg at Crystal Lake at the Fruity Island Watch Party, one of my favorite places to be, watching the premiere of Survivor 50. You guys, it was so good. It was so good. It was better than we ever hoped. I'm so proud of Jeff. I'm so proud of the producers of Survivor for really like, and I don't say this lightly, doing their big one. I think me and everyone else in the room and a lot of fans of the show were so pleasantly surprised at, even those of us who felt positively like I did. I had very high hopes, and they were surpassed. It was so electric. That intro was delicious. It made me cry. It really made me feel like, I know this sounds silly, but it really made me feel like, through the being active in the New York City Survivor fan community, and just Survivor being something that's really helped me understand myself and understand things that I like. And then all the Survivor games that I've played over the years, and all the friends I've made through them, and the the game that I run, Survivor Bushwick, which is my passion project. It really, watching that intro, really made me feel like, wow, I'm so proud to be part of this, and I'm not part of it. I'm just a fan, but I am part of it, and we're all part of it by sustaining it culturally. I mean, The show does not stay on for 25 literal years without people liking it and talking about it and participating in it. And I'm a Survivor quarantine baby, so I can't take any credit for sustaining the show over the years. But you know, there's things that I'm a micro I'm a micro Survivor influencer, and I've certainly influenced people to play Survivor games, which has then made them huge Survivor fans. And I will take credit for that. Um, where do we even start? That serene monologue on the boat about how Survivor's given her so much and it always has something new to give her. I bawled, not just cried. I was like, like me too. I was literally like, yes, I feel the same way, Suri. Every time it has something new to give me. I've never played Survivor. Although it's funny, I've done these like I've done the 1 day Survivor games, which are obviously very fun, but what's much more fun even are the like 5 days in the woods where you like actually do a little bit of survival. You're sleeping outside, you're making fire from flint, you might be in the rain, you're not eating very much. Um and those are I think you scratch at a little bit of a real Survivor experience. And it is funny to think about, over the course of all of the deprivation games I've played, I've played like 12, maybe 13 days with, in the woods without my phone, not much food, etc. Um, and then if I add up all the 1 day games, then it's like I'm pushing like 20 days, maybe even a little bit more of days I've played a Survivor game. But even if we're just talking the deprivation games, and if we take that as Survivor, I've played more Survivor than some Survivor players. Just saying. Anyway, um, okay, we get this opening challenge. Ozzy, Coach, and Q end up going out to do the fight for supplies. We get Ozzy versus Coach right away, and it's just everything you could ever want. I'm a big proponent that Coach Ozzy and Coach belong on this season. I mean, Ozzy is Survivor. I really don't think you can argue with him being here. You can say that he's had his chance, fine. But if the season is about like representing faithfully the eras of Survivor and the players who have made Survivor what it is, you really can't argue with Ozzy being here. And Coach is gonna give it to you every time, and you might not always like it, and it might not always be it might some be annoying, but it is going to be insane. And he is bringing it just like he did every other time. He still thinks that he's the good guy. Him and Ozzy seemingly squash their beef and then immediately reignite it. And, if Coach stole the key and then was just like, yep, that's what I had to do. Sorry, Ozzy. That would be one thing. But Coach seems to walk away from this interaction thinking that like he did not just do something very shady. And like Ozzy takes it a little too personally and is complaining a little bit too much to Q about it afterwards. It's so funny that you like Q is there, but is the least dynamic character temporarily in this situation. That just speaks to the quality of the whole cast and the electricity of the Aussie Coach thing. That you've created such an area where Q is the straight man. It's so funny. So we get surprise exile. The look on Ozzy's face when he reads it and he finds out he's on exile island again. Not 3 hours into returning to Survivor is priceless. Um, and it seems that Ozzy barely makes up for the lost social ground from spending that first day away from his tribe. And we don't really totally see where Q lands in his tribe dynamics. He seemed to definitely be safe, but exactly where in the power structure he ended up is a little unclear. But other things I want to cover off the jump. Here's these wonderful pictures of. I think if you're watching, sorry for our audio listeners, I've got a picture of Ozzy and Coach here. I'm so sorry. I think Ozzy is the hottest he's ever been. Um, I would maybe take maybe Micronesia Ozzy, but I'm someone I think Ozzy's been hot every time he's been on the show, and I'm loving this 40s mullet dad Ozzy. Yeah. Gimme more. I think he looks gorgeous. And then Coach, I'm sorry, Coach is looking very handsome. He's so ridiculous, and I'm sure he'll do something like actually upsetting and bad at some point in the season to make me really regret saying this. But Coach is right now. These are both my man, my man, my man, my man. And I'm not like I don't think Coach is a good person, but there's something that scene in Heroes versus Villains when when Coach like sort of has a breakdown and like starts crying to Tyson and is like, why doesn't anybody like me? Why don't they like me? They all laugh at me. There's something that touches at something in your heart. I mean, it has to. And then Tyson's like, stop telling your stories. Stop wearing feathers in your hair. No one believes your stories. Stop doing Tai Chi by yourself on the beach. And Coach is like, okay, 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 okay. It's human. It's Survivor. It it makes people, it breaks people down to the most base versions of themselves because they're stripped of shelter, they're stripped of food, they're in this very high pressure environment, and they're still having to rely on other people, other imperfect people, to try and get what they want, which is ultimately a selfish thing. Ugh, I could just talk about it forever and ever and ever. Okay, that's Ozzy and Coach. A lot of other wonderful stuff happens. We have Mike White is ripped, and that's its own entire segment. And that is just Survivor. I love you for keeping that in because, of course, I also was like, why is Mike White looking good as hell? And for all his whole tribe to be like, Mike, what the fuck? And then in the challenge for the other tribe to be like, Mike is Mike is jacked. It was so cute. I'm so happy for Mike. He's having so much fun. I love Mike White. He seems to be in an okay spot. I mean, we didn't get any indication immediately that he's not. Could mean anything. Plenty of players were very wary of Mike in their pregame interviews, so we'll just have to see where that goes. Um, but some of my other thoughts off the jump from just before we get to the immunity challenge, you know, Rizzo sort of embarrasses himself at first, and we get Colby being like, "What's the deal with this kid?" And then later on, Colby softens on him and is like, yeah, I see a lot of myself in Rizzo. I, before 49, I was like, there's no way I'm about to root for, there's no way I can watch a kid who calls himself the Riz God on my screen. And also, I'm jealous because Rizzo is like the kind of fan like I am, like, I'm pretty sure has played an LRG or two, but certainly Rizzo's played a lot of online Survivor games, which are not really my bag, but happy for him. And so when one of those people from the community gets on the show, we're all jealous. We're all stinking jealous. But he is the Riz god. He does have the Riz. He really won me over the course of 49. I think he's a really compelling kid, and he gets to work and shows that he has the chops and can play Survivor with some of the greats. I think he's got a longer runway than Savannah, but Savannah actually did quite well this episode, aside from botching the obvious lie about the block vote, which she should have just told the truth about to further insulate herself with her core alliance and her tribe and actually be safe there. But because she didn't tell the truth about it, and Rick and I think Christian clocked that immediately, I think that Ozzy and Cerie's only real play here moving forward is going to be to try and get them to put votes on to put their vote on Savannah. We'll see if that really happens. Ozzy has an idol. Well, I'll get to the boomerang idol. Um, what else happened before the challenge? Um, Christian, my goodness, what a man! They were completely right to bring him back. I don't think anybody ever doubted that Christian was a good choice to come back. But for Christian to hit the beach and then just be instant Christian, bonding with people, charm apocalypsing it up all over the place, making fire from a bunch of pairs of glasses, and explaining to his tribe mates and to the audience, the types of glasses you need and the way you would need to stack them in order to concentrate the light enough. I mean, Christian is also going to give it to you every time. And I just am so glad to see him back and to see him being himself. And the caliber of Survivor player he is. I was really touched by the way Christian hugged Devins in one of their early chats we saw. They're like walking down the path, and Christian like he really throws his whole body over Devins, and just like it's the kind of hug you give someone. It was very vulnerable. It almost made me emotional, honestly. It's the kind of hug you give someone you really adore. And obviously Christian's a smart guy. He's leaning into that, and you know, making it's not it's both something I feel he's really feeling, which is a true kinship and trust in Devons, and it's good for his game to express it in that vulnerable and real way. A lot of times I think something can be both real and good for your game. And if you're experiencing an emotion or something, and you just you lean into that emotion, you allow it to show more, you allow it to take over more of your psyche and express itself more because you know that it's good for your game, for this true emotion that you're having to be a little bit more in the forefront for this person you're talking to. And I'm sure Christian's doing that. And the way he's talking to other members of his tribe and just really covering all his bases. And then his story about his son and him saying like my son's gonna see this someday. Does that not just? I mean, how can you? I almost said how can you not say? If, but I don't think I should be using that curse word on this platform. Um, love Christian, love Pink. Why would Jenna throw out Suri's name before the immunity challenge? I was really high on Jenna being here. I thought she was an excellent pick from the start of the show. She's a wonderful character in season one. She's a wonderful character in All Stars. She's one of the early Survivor players who has the most immediate sense of what the game is and how to play it, even if she wasn't really given the opportunity to do so in season one and didn't know she had to. And no one really did except for Richard Hatch. She comes into All Stars like really understanding it's numbers, it's a game, I'm playing Survivor. And I had really high hopes for her. Even in her pregame interviews, she was like, Suri's a big threat. I gotta get rid of Suri. And I just really didn't think that she would actually hit the beach and try to get rid of Suri. Like, of course, you say in your pregame interviews, like, I'm scared of Suri. I think Suri's a threat. I want to get rid of Suri sooner rather than later. Of course, that is totally sensible. But to hit the beach, you haven't even lost immunity yet. You're the first person to throw out Suri's name. Are you crazy? What I think happened, of course, she's not wrong to want to get rid of Suri. Suri is a very, very dangerous player. What I think happened probably in all those conversations we were shown where Jenna was telling someone like, and then like, I want to do Suri first. And we saw those people, receive that. I'm sure Jenna said it. Jenna walked away. And then the people she was talking to looked at each other and was like, that was crazy. Can you believe she just said Suri's name? And clearly it got some traction, right? Like Flippin, who does not give a fuck about anything, was like, yeah, I mean, I want to do Suri. I want to do Ozzy. When Flippin is talking to Devin, she's like, what if we did Ozzy? And she's like, just like smiles. She's like, what the, let me just say something crazy. What if we did Ozzy? So fun. Um, Ultimately, I think it's very good for us as viewers that we get to have, an Ozzy pledging allegiance to Suri. I almost cried again watching that. I mean, I think it's very fun that we get to have Ozzy and Suri now on the bottom of this tribe, having to really fight to keep themselves here. And they should be. I mean, with Ozzy openly proclaiming Suri as his number one, I'm sure he hasn't said that, but it's very clear, I'm sure, to the rest of that tribe that Ozzy is ready to lay his life down for Suri. Then you have to exclude both of them. You have to leave Suri out. You can't give them any information, especially if they end up getting an idol, which Ozzy does. So delicious. Anyway, Christian, Rick, and Flippin are clearly in control of the tribe. And I would struggle to see, unless there's a very savvy idol play and vote split, I struggle to see how Christian, Flippins, and Devins at this point don't make it off this tribe. I was a little bit scared for Devins going into the season, but it seems that he's found a home here. We have Joe, who is like kind of just, he's found his untouchable spot of being an incredible challenge asset and just like a nice calming presence at camp. he's found the alliance that he's going to be loyal to, which right now looks to be Devon's, Christian, and Flippin, and he's going to stick with that. And then we have Savannah, who is also along with that side of things. And Savannah was gung ho about trying to do Suri or Ozzy, but just couldn't get it to happen. And I think she really needed to. And then she goes to get the block a vote, but she lies about it, and her tribe can tell. So I think that's the only angle that Ozzy and Suri will have to work because they're not going to get rid of Joe. And the Devons, Christian, and Flippin are not going to turn on each other. So I think that maybe Suri and Ozzy could convince Christian, and if Joe is wanting to go with Suri, Christian seems to be having the best relationship with Suri out of Devon's, Christian, and Flippin. There's a world in which they turn it on to Savannah, but more likely Ozzy's gonna need to get that vote onto himself, and he's gonna need to play that idol, and they're gonna need to not split the vote on Suri. So we'll see. Um, I didn't believe for a second that Suri was gonna go home first. If you fell for that, I mean, there was material to work with that made us fall for it. To be fair, but no, I didn't believe that for a second. Challenge is great. Kyle hurts himself, ends up ultimately being a torn Achilles tendon, which is quite severe and requires surgery. Um, we ultimately lose Kyle. Kyle proved himself in one episode to absolutely deserve his win from 48. What a great dude. What a great player. What a great head for the game. What a beautiful man. Sad to see it end like that, but honestly, you just won. You get to have one big, beautiful episode where it's very clear you are in a power position, and you now get to go home and be with your wife and kid. Does he have a son? Maybe he does now. You know what? I don't think he has a son. I think I just made that up. Either way, Kyle gets to leave the game having played twice, never been voted out as a winner. I mean, universally beloved, never seen really slipping up in kind of any way over the course of his Survivor career. And he gets to go out, beloved in this way too. Good for Kyle. I'm sorry it happened to you, buddy. I'm sure you were so happy to be playing again, but I'm more happy for Camilla that she gets to kind of actually have a clean slate here. That other tribe is stressing me out. I love seeing D, Camilla, and Tiffany lock in immediately. I don't love that Chrissy, it seems, wants to target D. I really have been going into the season like very high on Chrissy, and it seems that once again Chrissy is put with a bunch of young women, and I'm sure Chrissy's making plenty of effort with them, and we're just not seeing it all in the edit. But I worry for Chrissy. I worry for Chrissy. And if she's to like align with the men and try to do D, I'm just like, Chrissy, why? Chrissy, no. So I hope that doesn't work out. I hope that tribe just doesn't go to tribal and they can swap and people can get their footing in a new way. Um, Otherwise, I'm worried about it turning on to Chrissy, but we'll see. We didn't get a lot of Angelina or Aubrey strategically, which is worrying me a little bit. Except that we got this Aubrey and Genevieve thing, which was so funny. Um, Amazing first episode for Genevieve. Hi, honey. Um, Between the well, but first of all, Genevieve, like, of course, instantly in a good spot with Colby, Stephanie, and Kyle. Genevieve is so funny. She can make an alliance with anything. Genevieve can make an alliance with like a rabid dog. She can make an alliance with a rock. You could put her in any situation and she will find someone. She'll find multiple people who are willing to lay down their lives for her. Um, it's it's amazing. Um, it's sort of. I mean, it is a similar thing to Suri, where she just has that. I think people are obviously more scared of Genevieve in that they're going to be more scared that Genevieve can win challenges, can make flashy advantage based moves and things like that. And Suri is more of like a mist that slowly encroaches the land and until suddenly you just can't see your hand in front of your face and you're just like, why did all this mist get here and why can't I do anything about it? And Genevieve is more of a storm, I think. Both very powerful. But Genevieve lost so much power in this episode as well. I mean, she got the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. I obviously hate the celebrity um, tie-ins of the season. I will uh, claw my eyes out when Mr. Beast is on my screen, but here Genevieve being the one to say, "Hey, it's Billie Eilish," really sent me to the moon, and I kind of loved it. I'll be honest. And the Boomerang Idol is a great advantage. I think what makes a Survivor advantage a good advantage is when it has pros and cons, and when it has risks and rewards. The idol, most powerful thing you can hold in the game, is also very dangerous because to really effectively use it, you kind of need your allies to know that you have it in a lot of ways. And if anyone knows that you have it, you instantly become a big threat and they want to vote you out more. Um, and the reason the idol is a good advantage is because you have to play it before the votes are read, but after they're cast. So there you have to take a risk in playing the idol, and if you once you play it, it's gone. Even if you played it incorrectly, doesn't matter, it's gone. And I think that's what makes a good survivor advantage. Knowledge is power, a little bit overpowered, not the best advantage. Um, but what makes it at least sort of workable is that you have to guess correctly, and it can be played around. We saw the meta develop in Survivor 43 and 44 of people moving their advantages around so as to make them less susceptible to knowledge as power. Plus, knowledge as power is another one where if anyone knows you have it, you're in big trouble. So the Boomerang Idol, you know, forcing you to weigh, do you send it to somebody who you trust and want to work with and hope that they survive and hope that they will want to use that idol with you in the future? Or do you send it to somebody who you think is going to get voted out so that you can get that idol back? Are they going to find out that it was a Boomerang idol? It seems Ozzy is not being told that. But I saw in the preview for 50 at some point there was a clip where we saw Rick Devens reacting to saying like it's the Billie Eilish Boomerang idol, and so I have to believe that there's another one. There's one on each beach, and that Devens finds the one on his beach. Who knows? Either way, I love this for Genevieve, but Q lost his vote. Kyle got medevaced, and who else? Who else? Colby lost his vote. So now Genevieve's alliance of what seemed to be, and I think I'm getting this all right, Genevieve, uh, Colby, Stephanie, Kyle, and Q, that 5-person alliance now has 2 entire votes between the 5 of them. 4 of them. Kyle's gone. Q and Colby don't have votes. And so Angelina and Aubrey, you're back up, baby. It pains me to see Aubrey and Genevieve have this really intense and awkward conversation where they're just pointing guns at each other and unwilling to let their walls down. I understand. I understand it for both of them. I think they're just too similar of players, and much like with the Rachel situation, it's just I thought that being on the same starting tribe would there be sort of a foundation that they could build a working relationship off of Aubrey and Genevieve, but it just doesn't seem to be the case. And that if they go to tribal, it's going to be them against each other, which is sad because these are both my girls. But ultimately, Aubrey is my girl. I love you, Genevieve. So I hope that Aubrey and Angelina can work these unfavorable numbers for the other side to their advantage. I don't remember who the 8th person on that tribe was. Oh gosh. Nope. It'll come to me. Um Also in the challenge, we saw Sri really struggle with this monkey's fist thing. I think plenty of people were surprised to see her volunteer for this. But I read that it's because she had done very well with this part of a challenge in Australia versus the world, which she was pretty fresh off of filming when she got here. So she felt like she could do this. But apparently, this one was structured a little bit differently. There was this rope wall in front of her that really required you to get the like vertical momentum of the monkey's fist. And apparently, when she did it in Australia versus the World, which is an amazing season of Survivor, and if you are a Survivor fan, you should absolutely go watch it. Um, that rope wall wasn't there, and so she was able to do a bit more of a direct technique and just go horizontally forward. Anyway, she really struggles, and it puts her on the bottom for the vote. I think a lot of people are responding to this like, who cares about the challenge? It's Suri. Why would you even consider voting for Suri? If you are single-handedly the reason your tribe loses the challenge on the first challenge, it doesn't matter who you are. They're gonna say your name. Like you're gonna be an option, even if you're Suri. And Suri knows that, and she went to work knowing that. And of course, her name was already out there, so it was tough. Um, yeah, great challenge, classic. Um, one more thing about the Jenna situation. Um, we got this fun little interaction on Twitter. If you're listening to this podcast audio only, Jenna in her exit interview says that she was done in by pregame alliances. Quote, I think that's a whole manufactured thing with those three from the get-go before the game ever started, end quote, which I must be referring to Rick, Christian, and Flippin. Devins responds to this on Twitter saying, whatever helps you sleep at night. Damn. They were not eating any rice on the island, but they sure are eating off the island and giving us plenty to chew on online. There's already been some other little digs that some castaways have given to other castaways. There was this wonderful clip on Sharon Tharp's Twitter, Sir Sharon Tharp is a journalist who covers a lot of Big Brother and Survivor. She's interviewing players on the red carpet before the premiere, and she asks Christian like, oh, have you been surprised by um any of your castmates like pregame interviews? Like Jenna has been very talkative and had a lot of thoughts about you and about other players. And Christian, he's like, yeah, like Jenna is you know what I'll say is a I was happy to see that Jenna is exactly the person. I listened to a lot of her interviews back in 2005 before they were even called podcasts, and she talked like that. And so I'm happy to see that Jenna is the same person that they cast in 2001. That they're getting the same quality of character that they got last time. That is a read. Hello? She's exactly the same as she was 25 years ago. He just read her for filth. I love him, and he's got a smile on his face, and it's so couched in like, I'm so happy but it like the read is the read. He says that she has not grown a single bit, and he's right. I'm glad they cast Jenna. I'm glad we got the same Jenna that we got before. But I just think that was a very funny way to respond to that question. Um, you guys, it was so good. It was such a good episode of Survivor. I almost didn't feel how long it was. The last 50, I mean, after Tribal Council, I was like, okay, what are we doing here? We're just waiting for Kyle's thing to get worse because that clearly was the only thing that could still happen in the episode. But there's so much to be excited about. It's such a good collection of players, and it really is. It really is giving us. We've covered all the snubs. We talked about that in our last episode, but this episode is really giving us so much, and I'm so excited for the rest of the season. I love Survivor. It started. The episode started, and I've been having, as many of you know, I've been having kind of a tough time. It's the second half of this winter has been quite difficult, and especially in the last 2 weeks. I said a lot of little things go wrong in like all facets, like money, relationship, career, blah 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 blah, blah creativity, and sometimes I really feel like, what am I doing? I am kind of find it difficult to get passionate about things other than Survivor and Traitors and stuff. But it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing, and it has brought me so much. I've made so many friends because of it. I've had such wonderful, crazy life experiences because of Survivor and Survivor games and things. And when it came on, I really felt like, wow, it's my favorite thing. It makes me so happy. And we should do the things and love the things that make us happy. And we shouldn't need to like, I shouldn't second guess like, what else should I be doing with my time? I should be writing, I should be making movies, I should be making plays, I should blah 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 blah. And I do those things, and I will do those things. But I love Survivor, and I love the Traitors, and I love talking about it, and I love watching it with my friends at the bar. I love going to Fruity Island at Crystal Lake in Williamsburg every Wednesday, and cheering and yelling, and it's just the best thing ever. It's the greatest game on earth, and it's one of America's greatest cultural exports, for better and for worse. It tells us so much about the human condition, and it also tells us so much about American culture and values. And um, I just can't wait for what's coming up. Y'all, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Gay Sports. We talked about the Olympics, we talked about the Traitors, we talked about Survivor, and we talked a little bit about me. Thank you so much for listening. I have been your host, Declan Zhang. You have been you. This has been Gay Sports. I will catch you guys on the flip side next time. In the meanwhile, check out our tickets for Oscar, 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 our gently competitive Oscars watch party on the 15th of March, which will be black tie at Crystal Lake in Williamsburg. We'll have prediction ballots for all the Oscars categories, Oscars bingo, and even pre-show Oscars trivia hosted by Kevin Martinez. I really hope to see you there. It is basically the Gay Sports launch event, and it's going to be a really good time. Okay, signing off. I'll see you guys next time. This has been Gay Sports. Gay Sports is a podcast and internet talk show for the athlete and us all, created and hosted by Declan Zhang. Gay Sports is recorded at BRIC, Brooklyn, and our theme music is by Kyle Bren. You can get tickets to Oscar, 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 our competitive Oscars viewing party on Sunday, March 15th, at the link in our bio. Stay sporty.